Hello and welcome to week 1 of the assessment course. You'll notice that each week begins with an overview page. On the overview page, you'll see a list of the essential questions for the week and the tasks for that week. So each week is going to begin with a couple of big picture essential questions. These are big questions that I hope throughout the week you'll be able to develop meaningful answers for. You'll also see a list of all of the tasks for each week on this overview page. For each task, you'll be able to link directly to that task from this overview page. In addition, you can click Next to advance through each of the items on that list. Clicking Next will take you through each item one at a time. But you can always go back to this week 1 overview page to view all the tasks and to link to each task for each week's module. Each week I'll also be creating a brief overview video to orient you to the week's module and to give a little bit of in-depth information about the content and assignments for that week. So let's get started with week 1. For week 1, you're going to be exploring what is the purpose of assessment, what is the purpose of grading, and which grading practices fulfill those purposes, and which grading practices don't fulfill those purposes. To begin our study of assessment, we're going to take a deep dive into grading practices. This week, you're going to do some reflection on your own experiences as a student with grades, and you're going to explore some research-based practices related to grades. You're going to do some digging into which grading practices are ineffective and which ones are some effective alternatives for those. My goal this week is to challenge your thinking about grades and the grading process in order to help you develop your own grading system, your own thoughts about effective grading practices for your future classroom. So in order to fulfill these essential questions and to meet the goals for this week, here are the tasks you're asked to complete. Task 1 is to read the syllabus. If you haven't yet read the syllabus for the course, please do so. Also know that there is a discussion board in Canvas called Course Q&A. If you have any questions about the syllabus or questions about anything related to the course at any time throughout the summer semester, you can use the Course Q&A discussion board to post those. The second task is to complete a brief Google form to tell me a little bit about yourself as a learner. This is the form. I want you to simply tell me who you are, what are your career goals, what are you hoping to learn in this class? What are you already confused or worried or concerned about? What's something you'd like for me to know about you as a learner? And what can I do to make this course a positive experience for you? Please begin by filling that out to help me know a little bit more about you so that I can make this a positive experience for you. I also ask that you'll fill in some information to help your peers get to know a little bit more about you. So this is a getting to know you spreadsheet. I'd love for you to put your name here, insert a picture of yourself or your family or something that you love to do. Tell us a little bit about what your content area is, something we should know about you, and something interesting that maybe some folks don't know to help us get to know each other better. The fourth task is an interesting one. I'm going to ask you to create your own grading scale for this course. Since we're going to be spending so much time exploring effective grading practices, I want to give you some experience giving some thought to how much assignments should be worth when we're looking at an overall grading scale. So you're going to go to an assignment that will ask you to consider how much for your own personal grades this semester, how much you would like each assignment to be worth. On this spreadsheet, you'll see a list of each of the major assignments for the semester. You'll see a description of those assignments. You can also visit our Canvas page if you want to learn more about each assignment. You'll see the due date for each assignment, and then there's a place where I would like for you to enter a suggested amount of points for each assignment, and then give a brief rationale as to why you think that assignment should be worth that amount of points. Now, this is not going to be how your peers will be graded. This is only for your own personal grading scale. I'll be grading each assignment according to the individual grading scale developed by each of you. So for example, you have some weekly tasks to complete that don't fit into the big assignments. These are the big assignments that you're going to be doing the bulk of your work in this semester. But in addition to those big assignments, there are some smaller weekly things. For example, participating in discussion boards, doing the weekly readings, taking brief quizzes in Canvas, and just some small assignments that you'll do throughout each week. Those weekly tasks, you're going to determine how much you want those weekly tasks to be worth out of 100 possible points. So after you've created your suggested points for all of these assignments, it should total 100 points. Then you're going to read about this major assignment, which is a group assignment. Once you read through the description of that assignment, determine how much you think that assignment should be worth. And then you'll continue reading about each assignment and determining a suggested point value. This again is only for yourself. All of these columns here through here should total 100 points. And here give a brief rationale as to why you think each assignment should be graded in that way. Go ahead and fill that out soon so that I can start using your grading scale to grade the work you submit this semester. Your fifth task for week 1 is to respond to a discussion board about the purpose of assessment. This discussion board is going to ask you to just write a brief post, 3 to 4 sentences, about what you believe to be the purpose of assessment. We will revisit this discussion board later in the summer to see how our thinking about the purpose of assessment might have changed. Next, you have some reading to do. Now, know that the summer semester is short. These courses are condensed, so there's a lot of reading and work to do each week. You'll see tasks 6, 7, and 8 ask you to do some reading. Task 6 is just a short handout with some approaches to assessment. I want you to take a look at that. Task 7 asks you to read some chapters that I've uploaded as PDFs here. These are related to effective and ineffective grading practices. I want you to read a brief article about standards-based grading. This week you're going to learn a lot about standards-based grading as an alternative to traditional approaches to grading. You're going to watch some videos and do some reading and reflection about standards-based grading. My hope is that what you learn about standards-based grading will challenge what you've experienced and what you know about grading and help you think about some more sound ways to go about grading student work. So you're going to read a brief article about standards-based grading, and then task 9 is going to ask you to watch some videos that will give you a little bit more in-depth overview of what standards-based grading is. This is what that looks like. So when you click on task 9, it says view these 3 videos about standards-based grading. You'll go to this spreadsheet. When you get to the spreadsheet, you'll see a box that says click here for instructions. When you click there, you'll see the instructions for using this spreadsheet. There are 3 videos about grading practices linked here. There's one video that's an introduction to standards-based grading. There's a video that goes a little bit deeper into standards-based grading. And there's a video that describes some toxic grading practices. For this task, you will watch each video, and here in below the video link, you'll record just a brief reflection. You'll type a brief reflection about your thoughts related to that video. So you'll type your name here, and here you'll type your thoughts about the video. So it can be brief, just a few sentences for each. Please include your initial reactions, your thoughts, what you liked or what you disagreed with, what you found interesting, and most importantly, what are the implications for your future grading practices? How might this influence how you grade in the future? Once you've completed that, your next task, task 10, is to complete a TED Ed lesson about redos, retakes, and do-overs. This is another issue related to grading. This is a video-based lesson, and this is what task 10 looks like. You may be familiar with TED Talks. TED Talks are short informative talks about interesting topics. There are TED Talks on just a huge variety of topics. There's an interesting resource called TED Ed. The link for TED Ed is just ed.ted.com. TED Ed is designed to help teachers use TED lessons or use TED videos or use any other videos to create what we call flipped lessons. So the lesson begins with a video and then it asks some questions to help you dig deeper into the content. In order for you to participate in this lesson, you're going to need to sign up for TED Ed. It's free to do that, and it only takes a moment. You'll just register with your email address, and you'll create a username and a password. Once you log in, you'll be able to complete this lesson. This lesson has 4 steps. The first is watch. So for the watch step, you're going to watch this video from Rick Wormeli about redos, retakes, and do-overs. The second step is think, which is going to ask you some broad questions related to this video. The third step is dig deeper, which has some additional resources for you to explore. And the final step in the lesson is discuss. You're going to see some discussion questions, and you'll click view discussion and you can post your replies there. I'll get a notification once you've completed this lesson so that I can go in and read your responses to the think and discuss portions of this lesson. So those are your 10 tasks to complete for week 1. The due date for week 1 tasks is July 12th. That's the due date to have these 10 tasks completed, July 12th. Again, the summer pace is quick. So we have to move through these tasks quickly. There's not really time in the summer to get behind, so try to pace yourself and spend some time each day working through these tasks. Now, I'd like to share with you some thoughts about grading before you get started. And this should hopefully frame the work that you're going to be doing this week. So you're going to be asked to think about the purpose of assessment, and you're going to be asked to think about the purpose of grades. I'd like to explore this idea with you briefly, this idea of the purpose of grades. If I were to ask you, what should grades tell us about students? What should grades tell us? So when you look at a report card or when you look at an assignment that's been graded, what should the grade tell you about that student? Well, this question was posed to a group of teachers, and these are the things the teachers said. They said grades should tell us what students know and can do. Grades should tell us whether students have improved during a specific period of time. Grades should tell us what students' strengths are and which areas they need to work on. Grades should tell us whether students can solve real-world problems. Grades should tell us what level students are working at, whether they're ready to move on. Grades should tell us how students help one another, whether they've met a particular content standard. And grades should tell us how well students can apply what they know. I would bet that most of you would agree with the things on this list, that yes, when I look at grades, when I look at a report card, or when I look at an assignment that's been graded, it should tell me those things. But I want to challenge your thinking and push you in this way for just a moment. Because this same group of teachers was asked this other question. What do you actually include when you're calculating student grades? So this same group of teachers that gave the list on the left was asked to tell these folks what factors they include when calculating grades. And these are the things they said. They include achievement. So, test scores, how students achieve on assignments. They also included factors of attendance and tardiness. So, for example, reducing points for absences or for missed work or for being tardy. Factors also included behavior and attitude. So for inappropriate behavior, sometimes that would influence a grade. Perhaps points were taken off or students missed the opportunity to complete assignments because of their behavior choices. Summative assessment scores, so end of marking or end of chapter or end of unit test scores. Teachers said they include those in grades. Teachers also said they include homework in grades. And these other issues, family status is an interesting one. And I would love to hear the teacher's rationale as to why they included this on the list. My guess would be that they don't directly include family status, but that the status of the family does in some way influence the grading practice. For example, you have some students who go home with help for homework. their parents understand English, speak English, and read English, and are able to help with homework. They have the knowledge and the skills to do that. And you have other children who perhaps have a single parent, or have parents who don't read English or understand English, or are just unable to help with homework. So in that way, the status of a family might influence student grades. Teachers also said that ability affects their grades, promptness in submitting work, and extra credit bonus points were included in grades as well. So my question to you is, if we want grades to tell us the things on the left, if we include those factors on the right, will we get those things? If I include these factors on the right in my grading practice, will grades tell me those things on the left that I want them to? So here's a question for you. If I take points off for late work or for students' attendance, then do those grades tell me that this is what the students know and can do? And do the grades tell me which content standards they've reached? Here's what happens to a lot of students and parents. And as a parent, I can explain how this works for me. I'll get my child's report card home. I open the report card and I look at the grades. And honestly, I don't know what the grades mean. When teachers are sending home grades, it's easy to think, well, I know exactly what that grade means because the teacher was involved in the grading practice. But if I'm looking at a grade and I look at math and I see a B, I would like to think the B means that my child has mastered almost all of the content and skills in math for that grading period that were introduced and that my student was expected to learn. A B should mean my student is making good progress toward content standards in math. But if teachers are including these factors on the right, that B might mean a few different things. It could mean my student really does understand the math and is really progressing at like an A level in terms of the content, but my child had some missing assignments or turned some things in late, or maybe didn't do homework a couple of nights, and so the A was knocked down to a B. That's what the B could mean. Or the B could mean that my student really is not understanding the content very much, really struggling with mastering some of these content standards, but my student has a great attitude, does her best work, really tries hard every day, always turns in homework, but really is just not understanding. So the teacher gave a B because of that work ethic, because of the attendance and submitting homework. So in that case, the B is not a reflection of how my child is understanding the content. So you can see a grade can mean so many different things. This is why I want you to really think about what's the purpose of grading and what factors should we include in grades. If we want a B to clearly communicate a certain level of mastery of content standards, then we cannot include these things on the right that get in the way of that. So this week, when you explore those videos and articles related to grading, you're going to see some ineffective, some toxic practices that teachers use that cause grades to really be essentially meaningless in a lot of cases. You look at a grade and you just don't know what it means. So you're going to look at some practices that cause that to happen, and then you're going to see some alternative solutions that can help us clear up the grading practice and make sure that when we're communicating grades, we're actually communicating what we want to communicate, and we're staying true to the purpose of grading. So as you dig into those assignments for the week, keep this as your frame of reference. Now, one of the tasks for this week is a project-based learning task called What's in a Grade? This is a group assignment. You're going to sign up for a group for this assignment in Canvas, and there are instructions with this assignment for how to do that, how to sign up for your group in Canvas. You're going to want to go ahead and sign up as soon as possible. Go ahead and start forming groups. This assignment is due next week, so you're going to want to go ahead and get started in determining who's in your group, deciding roles for each group member, and setting a timeline to keep your group on track, because you have basically 2 weeks to complete this assignment. If you're new to project-based learning, I'm going to give you a very quick overview. You might want to do some more research on your own. A great source of information related to project-based learning is the Buck Institute, and you can find their website at bie.org. bie.org, that's the Buck Institute. Project-based learning is a way of learning that starts with some relevant real-world question or challenge, something that students need to know. So in this case, you have a grading situation, a grading scenario. It's a very real-world scenario. There are different ones for each group. You're going to start with a driving question or a challenge related to grading and a need to know. There's something that you need to know about this grading situation. So as a group, you're going to see what that is, and you're going to, through a process of inquiry, you're going to do some research to gather information you need to tackle this challenge. You're going to apply 21st century skills of communication, collaboration, creativity, and you're going to use student voice and choice to determine your roles and to determine how to best present your solution to this challenge. You'll get some feedback along the way, and you're going to create a product, a publicly presented product to propose a solution to the challenge. That is project-based learning in a nutshell. Now, if you're interested in using project-based learning in your future classroom, consider all of the opportunities for assessment within this project-based learning process. Really, at every step of this process of project-based learning, there are opportunities for you as the teacher to assess what students know and can do. Throughout project-based learning, you can assess students' research skills. You can assess how well they collaborate and communicate with their peers. You can assess how well they give feedback. You can assess their mastery of the content. You can assess the products that they create to present their challenges. You can assess their speech when they're presenting these projects. So there are multiple opportunities for assessment throughout a process like this. Project-based learning is a process-driven teaching strategy. It's not product-driven. Even though there is a product that students complete at the end of this journey of project-based learning, the focus is not on the product. The focus is on the process. And throughout that process, there are multiple opportunities for assessment. To help your group get started, I would recommend that each group determine some roles so that each person knows clearly what their role is in this work. In the task in Canvas, when you read more about this project-based learning assignment in Canvas, you'll see some suggested roles for group members. Your group can negotiate those roles, develop a timeline based on the assignment due date for when those roles should be completed, and then most importantly, your group needs to decide how and when you're going to get together, how you're going to communicate, and how you're going to collaborate. Perhaps someone in your group wants to start a Google document and share it with all of the group members to facilitate your planning. Perhaps your group wants to meet together through WebEx or get together in person to work on this project. You need to decide that early on since you only have 2 weeks to do this work. And then go ahead and determine what your next steps are and make a plan. That is for your project-based learning task. It's due next week, but I want you to go ahead and take an overview of that and start forming your group so that you can have your assignment ready to be submitted next week. You can read more about that here in Canvas and all of the assignments by clicking on the Assignments tab. When you click on the Assignments tab, you'll see the 2 discussion boards that you're going to be asked to participate in this semester, and you'll see all of the assignments that you have here. If you want to read more about any of the assignments, click on the assignment. Here's the grading, project-based learning, what's in a grade. You'll read more about the assignment, you'll see more about the group members, and here's a link with specific instructions for your task. And here are instructions about how to sign up for a group. You can read more about that here and all of the assignments on the assignments page. So that's what you needed to know to get started with week 1. If you have questions as you move through tasks for week 1, there are a few ways you can get in touch with me. You can leave a question on the course Q&A discussion board in Canvas. You can send me a message through Canvas by clicking here in your inbox and starting a new message. Hit compose there. Choose your course, type my name and send me a message through Canvas, or you can send me an email at jamie.linton@lr.edu. And if you need some one-on-one help, I'd be happy to meet with you on campus or to set up a WebEx session. We can meet virtually one-on-one if you get stuck or have some questions and would like to talk through any of this content. Good luck with your week 1 tasks, and I'll see you in week 2.